Well, last Saturday was marked by the visit of the Washington State Cougars to Gill Coliseum, and Kelvin Sampson always has an exciting basketball team, and they play with no fear. They come in and they go for the hoop right away.
Well, they play hard, and they have a good battery of perimeter people that they play. So they add quickness to the game, they add intensity, and the H-boys did a tremendous job.
Harrison, if you don't handcuff them, they're going to hit those three-pointers.
Well, maybe we should add Henderson to there too, because he killed us on the backboards, and he had a tremendous night physically against us.
Well, let's take a look at the highlights. Washington State and Oregon State, Saturday afternoon. Nice crowd for this one at Gill. And David Drakeford out there again, leading the way with another start. And get into it early on. This is up and down, and Jerron Brown gets you going right away. Nice pass from Brent Berry. Brent really cranked up the assists in this game. He had 7.
Well, we're finishing plays a lot more than we were early. It seemed like we had a good passing and good opportunities, and then we couldn't finish. And if you can't finish, you can't get an assist.
David gets hammered there by Ferguson. He ran into a big-time pick down low. Fortunately, David gets up okay. But
well,
boy,
I think he was
took
taking a little rest too. Maybe
yeah.
He was playing.
Here's Ferguson, the big guy. Now watch Bobby Edwards. Now he's been out hurt, didn't practice all week, and he makes a couple of good hustle plays coming off the bench. Watch him go after this loose ball.
Well, Bobby's a hustler, and he never says die. He's playing with a broken foot, to be honest with you, and I don't think you can see him limping there, but he didn't practice all week. He hasn't practiced this week. His foot swells up each time, and I'm not sure how much minutes he'll get the next couple games.
There are the Cougars playing hustle. Harris saves it in bounds. Mark Hendrickson, always around the hoop, puts it down. Come back to the other end. David Brown off the bench gives you some help on the baseline. You got down 8 in the first half, and then they start hitting those threes, and it is Mr. Tony Harris. He hit 3, Eddie Hill hit 4. Boy, that can change a game quick.
Well, we didn't have good coverage on them. It was late getting there. We have to recognize the shooters. You can't hope that they miss. You've got to be there and make sure they miss by the pressure you put on them, and we weren't doing a good job of that.
JB gets you 3 big hoops inside, but here's Hendrickson getting in, follows it up, 3-point play as he's fouled, makes it a 16-point lead at 1 point for the Cougs. It ends up 47-33 at the break. Now you get into the second half and you make a few adjustments and you make a pretty good run at them.
Well, they were in the zone the first half, and they had quick putbacks down at the other end on transition, and so we made a little modification in how we were going to match up with them. That helped us. So they didn't stay in the zone too long, but their lead was surmountable, and all of a sudden we get back to a point where we thought we could get in it, and then they call the timeout, hit 2 key hoops. Then Fontaine comes in, hits 3 baskets himself, and by that time it was just no chance.
Now there's Steffen scoring off the turnover. And now off another break. There's Steph. And now Brent's going to hit the 3. And this made it 58-51 right before the Cougars take that timeout. Brent's open. He takes it. He's got it. So it's 58-51, 8:26 to go. Here's the timeout. And the big play here, you get the crowd on their feet. Harris is going to beat the pressure and takes it all the way himself. And this was a key play. It got them back, got their offense back.
Well, he turned the corner. He got a little pick and he turned the corner. We kind of got in each other's way. The next play, if we see it, was an even more important play.
This is Fontaine.
Yeah, Fontaine hits 3 in a row.
And that kicks the lead back up to 67-52. Bobby Edwards, some good work inside. The Cougars have that comfortable margin. They're up by 20 at 1 point. Brent's going to find David Drakeford. Leaves it for him, draws the foul, 3-point play opportunity, and then Brent again picking up the 6th assist and then the 7th assist. This one's to Jerron Brown, who has another big night, a double-double.
Lost his balance, gained his balance, and then he was able to use the backboard, use his angle to the hoop.
And that's it, 81-66, the final score. The Cougars get a sweep in the Valley. That's very big for them.
See, our defense, you see those percentages, we're allowing our opponents to shoot almost 50% on us. And that's what we have to do to improve. We have to improve in that area more so than anything. Better defense, your percentage goes down.
And of course, you want to shoot a little better than 40-42. You get that up on the other side, and you're giving yourself a chance. Jerron, good numbers, 24 and 10. Brent, getting in triple-double category there. Those 7 assists were big. Tony Harris had the best numbers, 21. And of course, Harrison Hill again combining 7 of 14 from three-point range.
Well, you know, Harris, he was 8 for 22, so that's not spectacular shooting. But in essence, Hendrickson is the guy that just wore us down. He had points. He played good defense. He got offensive boards and put back. He was to me, was a real force.
And his final numbers, 19 points, 14 rebounds,
Yeah.
7 of 11 shooting,
Yeah.
only 1 turnover, and 2 steals along the way. He does do it all.
And he plays almost every minute.
So you get the split, and now it's time to talk about Arizona. We're going to do that. We're also going to introduce you to our player of the week, redshirt freshman Jerron Brown, and talk to a blast from the past, Jimmy Jarvis. All this when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues.
They're working with me, and me being in the weight room, you know, our training coach. So basically, I know I'm not ready physically, but it'll come.
Now, coming off the Duck game and the Cougar game, you get a couple of double rebound games. So you're starting to assert yourself out there.
Becoming more confident. That's what it is.
He does an extremely good job because he works at it. He's talking about his weights. Well, he works hard at that almost every day, and so it used to be you could see bones, and now you actually can see muscles. He's
getting there.
flexing every once in a while.
Hey, now being from Big D, you got to be a Cowboy fan. Got to be excited about this football game this week.
Definitely, yes. I'm pretty sure that Cowboys are going to pull it through and win the whole Super Bowl. Because, you know, San Fran was a pretty good team, you know, but Dallas, I got to stay with my boys.
Now, and NFC, AFC football.
Yeah.
There's no question there. You said you were telling me you'd faced Mario Bennett before in high school days, and of course you're going to see him this week, and he seems to be really growing into his own at ASU. To talk about having played him before.
Well, I played him a couple of times at the Recreation Center down in South Dallas, and it was pickup games, you know, basically, and so he played outside. I mean, you know, sometimes he played outside like a 3 and a 4, and then he moved sometimes to the inside, and we never really played against each other, but I mean, I matched up against him, and he wasn't as strong as he is now. He gained a lot of weight, probably about 30 pounds within the last year. And so I don't know, it'll be a pretty good matchup. He probably doesn't recognize me, or, you know, he probably won't know me or anything, but when he hears I'm from Dallas, Texas, Lake Highlands, it'll probably come back to him, and then
He probably doesn't even talk to freshmen yet, does he?
probably not.
You have to reintroduce yourself to him.
I'll reintroduce myself in the game.
That's
when we get
right.
through
That's right.
handling it.
Just talk about the spirit of this team right now. You seem to be pulling together as a group very well.
Yeah, we notice now, you know, we need to come together in order for us to pull out the rest of the season, you know, because we're an up and down team, you know, and what we mainly need to do is stick together and play as a team, because we have a lot of young people, and then we have a lot of, there's a few upperclassmen. We just need to stick together, and the more we stick together, things will work out, it'll work out all right in the long run.
And we talked about this last week. I know you're very proud of the way these guys have held together.
Well, when you lose, it usually brings out the worst qualities that you possibly can have in your personality, and we've stuck together. We've had a few little things little outbursts here and there, but all in all, this team wants to win. They like each other. They work hard. And we don't have much margin for mistakes. And so what JB is alluding to is that we got to stick together so we can get the maximum out of everybody.
And just for the record, before you go, we got the 3 Browns on the team: Stephen, Jerron, David. No one's related.
Nope, not whatsoever.
Just brothers in Beaver basketball. That's it. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, and have a good trip down to the desert this week.
Thanks.
It's time now for our guest, our feature segment this week. We're going to take a blast from the past with Jim Jarvis, 3-sport athlete at Oregon State University. Of course, All-American in the mid-'60s, played for both Slats-Gill and for Paul Valenti. A lot of people don't know this, but Jim Jarvis, as a senior at Roseburg High School, was considering going to other colleges, but it was the presence of another great Oregon prep star, Mel Counts, at Oregon State University, that convinced Jim he too should attend OSU.
I was always going to go to the University of Oregon, and Mel went to Oregon State, and it came my time to make my decision, and I knew that it was important, if you were going to play on a good basketball team, to play with a good big man, and Mel was that. Besides that, he was a good guy, and Slats-Gill and Paul Valenti were great coaches to play under, and so it was an exciting time for me.
And people I know of you as a 2-sport athlete, but reality was a 3-sport athlete, although golf was a very small part of it.
Briefly, what happened my sophomore year at Oregon State, I went out for golf and played about a quarter of the season, and we kept playing in these rainstorms. And I finally came in one day and told the golf coach, I said, look, one thing about baseball, they cancel the games when it rains like this, so I'm going to go out for baseball. So I went out and played baseball the rest of the time.
You ended up at Oregon State at a very exciting time. The 63 team Slats-Gill had maybe the best basketball team in OSU history, and that's pretty tough comparison, but just talk about that time with that team.
Well, that was obviously an exciting time and an exciting team. And of course, Terry Baker won the Heisman that year in football, and Terry was the lead guard on that team. And we did the unexpected. When you go as far as the Final Four with a team from Oregon State or any other of the Northwest schools, you've really accomplished something. And to get to go back to Louisville and play in Freedom Hall and play against the defending national champion in the semifinal game was a real thrill for me.
What was it like being recruited by Paul Valenti?
Of course, my memories of Paul are not so much of him recruiting as when I played for him. And Paul is one of those kind of coaches that if you had a son that had the ability to play at that level, you'd like to have him play for Paul, because what the people saw in the stands and saw on TV of this guy that got in people's face and yelled at him and screamed at him, and they said, God, I wouldn't let my kid play for him. We loved him. I'll never forget the first game we played against University of San Francisco, and they had a guard by the name of Joe Ellis that was 6'6" that checked me, and I scored 10 points, and I was devastated because I felt I'd let the team down. And I picked the paper up the next morning, and Paul's statement to the press was, give the guy credit, Ellis did a great job on him, but Jarvis is going to have some great nights before the year's over. And we played Arizona State that night, and I had 32 that night. And that's the kind of person Paul was.
And Jim Jarvis had that season where he shot 84% at the free throw line. You might bring him back one of these years, give a little instruction to these guys.
Well, he could shoot, there's no question about it. And at the tail end of his career, he could really play defense. He was a little slow of foot at times, but boy, I tell you, once he got anticipation and got intensity on defense, he took out some very good guards defensively.
Now, you look back at that 63 team, best OSU team of your memory of the 30-plus years you've been here?
Well, I don't know. The one with Steve Johnson and Radford and Bloom was a pretty devastating team.
The 66 surprise team, too, of Paul's.
But that team had Slats' team that particular year had the potential to go a long ways. It didn't do well in the Final Four, but that was a great team. It had almost certain prototypes that you want for every position. The 66 team is one of my favorites because it overachieved so much and did very well.
All right, JB, thanks again for being with us. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the opposition this week. We're heading down to the desert. That means the Cats and the Sun Devils. We'll talk about it when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues.
Inbound the ball to Faulkner, knocked loose, stolen by Berry. This baby's over. The Orange Express wins by 8 with a very good effort. Final score, Oregon State 80 and Arizona State 72.
Well, up this week, it's the ever-popular trip to the desert for the Oregon State Beavers. Thursday night, Arizona State. Saturday, the main event against the University of Arizona at the McKale Center. Assistant Coach Rich Wold with us right now. You look at number 20 and number 3, Damon Stoudemire and Khaled Reeves. They're the heart of that offense, and even though they do things very simply, they're executing very well right now.
Well, those two guys get a lot done for them. In this particular set, the 1-4, and we've called it the zipper play, they both have options of coming off of picks, receiving the ball, shooting their jumpers, or taking it off the dribble, and they're both very good at it. In this particular case, we have Damon Stoudemire with the ball. He hits the wing and then rubs off Ray O's and comes down the low block. O's will step up, gets the ball back. While this is taking place, Khaled Reeves is setting his man up on the low block, and he'll receive a pick from the big fella, Blair, Joseph Blair, down the low block. He rolls up and looks for his jumper on the reverse pass. Now, when he catches the ball in this particular case, he can either shoot his jumper or he can penetrate and take it into the lane. O's and Reggie Geary will then come down and set a double pick for Damon Stoudemire, who is terrific catching the ball and shooting, taking it off the dribble and creating for himself. In this case, he comes off the double, they reverse the ball back to him, and he's got a wide open three-point jump shot.
Now tell me why the University of Arizona drops to 13th just because they lose at UCLA. That was a tough game this past week. Cats 14-3 this week. Lute, of course, in his big 11th year. They get the split in LA. How about the Sun Devils now? They're 8-6 right now. They beat SC coming from, 10-15 down to win big time. And then they lost to UCLA, but we're competitive. Sun Devils can beat you inside with the big guy Mario Bennett. They can beat you outside with Headache Smith.
Well, they also have other starters, Fontana, Burton, and Riley, a great group of players that play well together, play hard, play defense. They can do it all.
Now, the Sun Devils have already played well on the road this year. At home, they're going to be tough. So it's Arizona State Thursday night, Arizona on Saturday. We'll be back here next week to tell you all about it on The Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian, along with the coach. Welcome to the Jimmy Anderson Show, where we talk Oregon State basketball every week. That trip to the desert always has some strange little twists and turns to it. And I'll tell you one thing, from now on, you're going to beware of coaches who claim that their guards have sore shooting hands, because Headache Smith and Khaled Reeves fooled everyone this week.
Well, I think they were just acting out a role of some sort, because it certainly didn't indicate by the way they played that they had anything sore about them at all.
You know, you look at the Pac-10 this year, and this is what a guard league this is. We have run into so many good guys on the outside who can handle the ball and can score the ball.
Well, I think it's known throughout the nation as probably the league with the best guards. From top to bottom, there's quality play at the guard position at every school.
And we saw 3 of them this week, starting at the Arizona State game with Headache Smith, a guy who has been very hard on Oregon State over the years, and he ties his Pac-10 record again in the Thursday night game. This was a good ball game. There's a couple good-looking guys. Bill Frieder standing alongside the coach here. This one goes back and forth, and ASU fortunate to get away with any wins at all against the Oregon schools this weekend. Brent Berry got you off to a good start.
Well, we moved the ball very well. We ran our offense very well against Arizona State. I don't think there was one player on our squad that didn't have what I'd call good to better games. Stephen Brown had an excellent game. He took one of their leading scorers and held him almost scoreless, plus did a lot of nice things for us.
And you see Mr. Smith in action, 39 points. We have 28 at halftime, and then he cools off a little bit. And he doesn't just hit the three-pointers, steal and a score there. And they get on a little bit of a run early and open up a lead in the first half. You see him again from the outside. Yep, he can do that. And it takes Brent Berry and Kareem Anderson to get you back into it a little bit at halftime.
Well, when you lose contact with a great shooter and don't have a hand in his face and he's on rhythm, he's very difficult to stop. But we didn't fall under the pressure during crunch time. We came right back. You can see some nice play by our players, some intelligent play, and it was an excellent ball game from start to finish.
See Kareem there following up. Got down by as many as 15. That was Dave Brown following up, and now it's an 8-point game at the half. And there's that old Smith guy again. But you get things going here, and again, it's Kareem and Brent, where the big guys at least get into the hoop. But also Stephen Brown all over the boards, had a career-high 10 in this game.
Well, Stephen Brown had 10 rebounds in this game, and for a guard to do that, plus score, plus hold, maybe he's averaging 17 point something. I'd say Stephen Brown had an excellent game. Brent had a good game. And here again, I'll just reiterate the fact I thought all our players played very well.
All of a sudden, the margin gets down to 1 point here as Brent takes it in and scores. It is 59-58. Then it gets to be kind of a back-and-forth game midway through the second half, and ASU seemed to be content to play that kind of game. David Drakeford on the loose. He hit a couple threes.
That's a nice assist. If you make assists, people are open like that, they're supposed to hit those shots.
There's Stephen driving all by himself. And now another one of the Brown boys. This time David.
Well, in the end, Bennett really killed us too. He's very physical on the inside game, and every time he touched the ball, he was 10 for 11 in that particular game, and every time he touched the ball in the paint, he was coming up with scores. And he probably more so, even more so than Smith, hurt us in crunch time, right at the tail end of the game when it was going back and forth.
Now here's a nice run again, continuing in the second half. Kareem, and now Stephen's going to get one on the transition, and it remains a 1-point game here into the final 4 minutes. And you mentioned Mr. Bennett in the middle, who's been very big for ASU as of late, played very well in Los Angeles. They get it inside, and a good power move there. Gets them up by 3.
See, I was yelling at the officials. That's supposed to be a technical foul when they hang on the rim, and he wasn't bumped. He just took it and slammed it. We were praying a little bit for a tee.
And Bacon gets through there for a big follow-up. That makes it a 5-point game, but this still gives you an opportunity here. Kareem driving, cuts it down to 3 in the final 2 minutes, and a few missed free throws down the stretch, and you would have had the opportunity to get that final shot. It ends up being an 88-82 final. Sun Devils win. Look at the numbers for this game, and you look at the shooting number. That's one you want to see there with your offense. 50%, even up on the rebounds, make them turn the ball over more. Did the things you want to do in a road game. Look at the individual scores. Kareem, 24 points, nice 10 of 17 night. Brent Berry, a good all-around game. Stephen, a good all-around game. And there's the guy on the bottom. He got his 39. But you went down there, and you got a good road effort. I know you've been looking for that.
Well, we inverted our guards and forwards and beat their pressure, and that's one of their real strengths. So that helped us get into our half-court offense. And when you take care of the backboards, get assists, few turnovers, shoot a decent percentage, 50%, you're going to be in the ball game.
Now we'll talk more about that. The inverted offense, successful. We're going to see more of that as the season goes along. When we come back, we'll take you back to Saturday, the Beavers and Arizona, as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Let's talk about inverting the offense a little bit more. Obviously, when you're undersized, it helps when you have big guys bring the ball down because it forces the big players on defense to come out a little bit. That's something you're going to do the rest of the year a bit too?
Well, in some games we will, in some games we won't have to. The thing is, it's easier to save the strength of, say, Stephen Brown, who can bring it. But we don't have great substitution in a lot of floor positions, so he has to play almost 40 minutes of basketball. And if he's being harassed up front by their best defensive player, we have quickness on most other people's front court when you have Brent and Kareem bring the ball out. So we just say small forward, you bring it out there just like guards. Let our other guards get down the floor, take their best defenders out of there, save their energy a little bit, and all of a sudden it's working for us. And we weren't bothered by the press one iota against Arizona and Arizona State, and that's their big strengths.
Right, and that's something you would expect teams would want to come out and trap you this year, so that's a
Exactly.
big plus there. And also, you have 3 point guards on the floor at a time. Brent has played that position, Stephen has played there. You're going to have David Drakeford or Jelani Boleen in the game, so you got 3 points on the floor. Anyone can bring it down.
Anybody can bring it down. Then we have to learn how to get from there into our offense smoothly and rotate and cut and not have any lulls in between.
All right, let's talk about the Arizona game quickly from the Saturday at the McKale Center. Oregon State, was one of the last teams to win at the McKale Center before the Cats started that big win streak, and now they fill it up with those people in the red sweaters. And I'll tell you, if this backcourt tandem isn't one of the best in the country, I don't know what is. Damon Stoudemire, Khalid Reeves, you know they're going to do something with the ball, and still they have been so hard to stop this year.
Well, there's a situation right there where you can see where we get knocked down, we miss a lane, and they convert. And the margin for getting behind in games is not very good for the Beavers this year. So if we're not playing great defense, we miss 2 or 3 lay-ins, get 2 or 3 turnovers, there's a big bulge that develops, and then all of a sudden, on the road especially, we're in trouble.
And you look how fast Arizona reverses the floor. They got up 10-0, 17-2. Then you get something going in the mid-first half. JB and Steph going high and low, and Kareem in the back door, and you get back within 9 of them.
Well, that's about as close as we got. And their transition was very strong, and they shot a great percent again. I guess we're just not challenging defensively enough. We just have to do a better job in all phases. I thought our players played hard. It's just a matter of doing things better for a longer period of time.
They are beating the trap there, and Brent gets the hoop. Now we're going to see another one for the highlight reel of Brent getting up high.
Well, that's a beautiful pass, right where it's supposed to be on a high feed, easy slam, but sometimes those things really help.
Jerron Brown, some good work. Getting on the floor, forces the turnover. We'll see a little defensive work out of Brent, too, forcing a jump ball. And now our feature player of the week, Stephen Brown. He'll do this one solo.
Well, see, that's the kind of defense we need to play, is force them to go out of their way and not let them just have the ball. You get a hand in the passing lane, you drive them a little farther, you let them know that the defense is going to be challenging and just not them have a comfort zone in offense. And we had a tendency to do that, and that's why they sometimes shoot high percentages.
Now, Reeves had 22 at the half, and he really cranked it up in the second half. He only played 27 minutes to get his points. If they'd let him go all night, he might have gotten 50 the way he was shooting the ball. Get a breakaway there. Brent gets back to take one away from Reeves, but he'll come right back, and even the crazy ones go in sometimes. Take a look at this.
They had about 3 or 4 of these. It just wasn't just that one. They had 2 or 3 others like that also. But he's being touted as an All-American and candidate for a lot of the awards at the end of the season. There's no question he's a fine ball player.
Jerron Brown puts one in there. You look at Peterson also near the end of the game. Obviously, both teams get to clear their benches. And Arizona, as they often do at the McHale Center, walk away with this one. The final was 100-56. And take a look at the numbers quickly. And you know, aside from Arizona shoots the high percentage, and obviously you need to shoot a better percentage to win on the road in particular.
Well, we take the same amount of shots, 63 shots apiece. We hit 20, they hit 33.
Right.
That's the difference in the game, no matter what you do.
Brent and Kareem, your top scorers, and there's Khalid Reeves, his numbers 35 points in just 27 minutes. So, and you get to see him again too. Get him up here.
We're going to play them much better when we play them here. They're very difficult there. There's no question about it, and especially when you get behind. We didn't get much help inside. If you check the statistics there, you got to have your big people do something, and we were completely neutralized in that floor position.
That's very interesting. Now, looking at UCLA, looking at Arizona, looking at Cal, it seems like even when those 3 match up against one another, whoever has the home court is going to make a big difference this year.
Well, the big difference for us is going to be at Corvallis. If we can continue to have good support there and people don't bail out on us because we're having a bad season and give us the continual support. Our players have not given up. They're still working hard in practice. They're still very together as a unit. They're trying to do things right. It does get frustrating when you don't have a lot of your players because of injuries or other sundry reasons, but I'm actually really proud of this group. They're working hard. They still have a good attitude, and I think that counts too. And
3 home games coming up for you to get a look. California, Stanford, and Oregon the next 2 weeks. When we come back, we'll take a break from the game action and meet this week's player of the week. It is Stephon Brown, the JC transfer guard. We'll also get a blast from the past. Ralph Miller joins us. Our special guest this week is one of the hardest working players you'll see in the Pac-10, Stephen Brown, the JC transfer out of Ventura, California. And I know you've had quite a season already, a lot of minutes from the very beginning, played a couple spots on the floor, and one thing you notice watching is you go out there and you want to play hard and you want to do well.
Well, that's the reason why I came here, because I wanted to play a lot of minutes, and I saw that, Oregon State had a vacant job in the point guard position and off guard, so I just wanted to come in and contribute a little bit to the team.
And you came in that Oklahoma game. I mean, that was a great introduction for the fans.
Yeah, well, that game was one I was looking forward to playing because a former teammate of mine from Ventura College played for Oklahoma.
Right.
So I was just happy that, we came out and played hard, and even though we didn't get the win, I think the fans seen that we was going to play hard all season.
And talk about Stephen's adjustment here, because you had him bringing the ball down by himself for a while. Now he's off at the off-guard spot.
Well, first of all, his adjustment has been an extremely powerful one in my estimation. The fact that he comes in as a junior college transfer and can start and be an impact player is in itself, in a transitional situation, learning a new offense, meeting new players, and being accepted is remarkable. I can remember Lester Connor, for example, coming in, who ended up being an All-American, did not get as quick a start as Stephen. So you know that we rely on him. I don't like to take him out of the game. The only time I take him out normally, except for one game, and that was down in Oregon, is if he asks me to come out, because he's a little tired. Otherwise, he's going to have to do the bulk of our work on the floor. Rebounder, defense, scoring, assists, everything. He has to do it.
How have you found your conditioning to be, too? I mean, if you're going to play 40 minutes, 38 minutes a night, how's that felt?
Well, it's pretty good because, like Coach said, if I go in the game and go hard for 4 or 5 minutes and I ask for a break, he'll give me a break and he just tells me when I'm ready to go back in. We have a pretty strong conditioning coach, as in Tom Edmonds, and he got us really prepared for the season, so I'm pretty good in that phase of the game. But like he said, the only time he really takes me out is when I'm having a bad game or making wrong decisions or meeting the challenge of another player of the opposition team. Like as in Oregon, he took me out because I was out of control. He just gave me time to sit down and put me back in when I was ready to play.
One way I knew that you'd made it with this team and you were going to get some time was when Brent Berry says, I think before the season even starts, I like playing with Stephen. We can communicate out there. And I mean, you hit it off pretty well with Brent, didn't you?
Yeah, I feel me and Brent has a lot of things that can help both our games because, he finds the open guy real well and I find the open guy real well. And like Coach said, there's when me and Brent's out there, it's 2 point guards out there. They can really handle the ball and get assists to other players on the team. So we both contribute pretty well in that phase of the game. And Brent was working a lot on his jump shot, and it's improved a lot. So, when I'm penetrating and break the defense down, Brent's usually there for an open shot, or Kareem Anderson is, and I usually can get them an open pass.
Tell me about the unity on this club right now. You have all continued to play very hard as a group. We haven't seen guys quitting in games, even a game like the Arizona game.
Well, we're a pretty close group, and a lot of people probably felt that, after we lost a couple games, we would be down on ourselves and just end the season. But it hasn't been that way. We still working hard and just want to make positive steps towards the end of the season to get some wins here. And going out in Arizona this past weekend, all of us felt in our heart that we can get some wins, and we were very positive about the trip. Even though we came up short, we were still positive about the Arizona State game. We had a letback in the Arizona game, but this week, today, we came out hard in practice, and we're getting ready for the Bay Area schools. And
you got to feel like you're playing against the all-star team. I mean, every week you got the Washington State guard combos. You had to play against Headache, had to play against guys at Arizona, and now, Jason Kidd this week. So it's been quite a year for you.
Yeah. It's that's another reason why I came here, because this is the league with the best guards in the nation, and just to get people to see you just play hard and always compete against good guards every day and every game. So it's just been fun so far, and I hope our team can improve and get better, and I'm sure we will.
All right, well, we're glad you're here. Stephen Brown, the JC transfer at the guard spot. Now, let's take a look back in the past in the history of Oregon State basketball. The great one, Ralph Miller, on campus this past week. He knows what it's like to have a few players go down with injuries. He went through that his first couple of seasons at OSU.
Well, I think I've always been realistic, and I've always lost kids for one reason or another, and so I'm very understanding of this kind of a situation. It'll happen to anybody, anytime. And certainly when it does happen, life is a lot tougher because naturally you're not going to win as much because you haven't got as good a ball club.
Is it a truism that in basketball you can turn any program around in 1 year, 2 years, just because of the numbers involved?
In 2 years, yes, normally you can. Now, maybe you don't jump from a big winner situation or to a big winner situation, but you can begin to show signs. I think Coach Pettibones is a typical example with football.
As you watch college basketball now, you comment, you start seeing the 1-4, the classic offense over and over again. Does that surprise you that people keep going back to that?
No, it's good offense. After all, I used it most of my life. And it's very simple, very easy to run, very effective against both man and zone. The pros have been using it. They didn't use it before I did, but every kind of team. Arizona's using it some this year. And I've seen it in a lot of places. So, you know, when something is good and sound, which I think that offense is, it's not going to blow away. It's going to be around. People may get away from it. First thing you know, here they are, back, running the same old thing.
Before we let you go, let's talk about family a little bit. Of course, we see Gene's on the trip with you here. Daughter Shannon still having a lot of success as a high school coach in
So far,
Newport.
she's staying alive in the coaching profession. And Gene and I are really enjoying our life as in retirement. All of the children are doing well. So we absolutely have nothing to complain about. We will, from here on, the rest of the year, do a lot of traveling because going back to the Final Four for the first time in a long time. Got to take in the NC2A finals, Hall of Fame. I'm going to spend 3 weeks in Florida where I'm going to practice my golf for a while.
Golf, Ralph? Couldn't be. Now, it's good to see the old coach with us again. He was visiting, of course, during the Washington and Washington State weekend. When we come back, we'll preview this week's opponents. The Bay Area schools coming to town for their first visit of the year. The Jimmy Anderson Show will continue. Well, the Pac-10 weekend starts for the Beavers against the University of California Thursday night at Yale. Only the hottest team in the conference right now after knocking off UCLA. Assistant coach Larry Harris joins us now with the scouting report. We all know about number 5, Jason Kidd. You got to control him. You got to keep him from taking over the game. What is it Cal's trying to get done on offense?
Well, their big thing is transition, getting the ball up and down the floor and trying to create and let Jason get in the open floor and do the things that he's best at, obviously passing and getting the ball to the basket. But another player they have that's probably an NBA player is Murray, who's all there inside work for them, and most of it. And what they try to do with Jason is get the ball inside to Murray by throwing it over to 23. Jason now going across and screening away, creating motion over on the opposite defensive end. And as he does that, 23 looks into to Murray right away. If that doesn't happen, 52, Jamison flashes. They hit him, and if he's being funny, he just steps off and they throw it over for the lob.
And it's possible to see a lot of Lamont Murray if you're not careful. He's really can be the better scorer than Kidd on his team. Cal's 12-4. They're back in the top 25 after sweeping the LA schools at home. Now, how about Stanford? A year ago, if his team doesn't have a point guard, they struggle badly. Largely the same cast with some key additions. They're 11-5 right now. And Mike Montgomery, he likes having this group together a little bit more now. Maybe see a little bit of your team down the road reflected in this?
Well, possibly. They have a young guard by the name of Knight that's really helped them, and then they had a kid that was redshirted, Popnik, and he's a real force on the inside. So all of a sudden they take over the lineup, pushes other people down for more bench strength, so they are a force in the Pac-10.
And they're getting good balance right now. 4 players averaging in double figures. And you know about Brent Williams. He did a lot for him last year, but they spread it around, and UCLA had a lot of trouble slowing them down.
Well, Williams has been a starter for 4 years, so you know he's a senior leader for him. And they are the surprise team in the league, without a doubt. But if you analyze what has happened, you can see why they're in that position.
And they may be that team. We keep talking about who's going to be the 4th team. We know about UCLA, we know about Arizona, we know about Cal. Thought maybe the Sun Devils, they didn't look that great this weekend. Maybe Stanford's that 4th team.
Well, could be. Washington State's still in the fight. So who knows? There's USC is the one that has lost 5 in a row, and I imagine Raveling is just pulling all the hair out of his head right now.
Because it looked like he did have the bodies. You're home now for the next 3 games, and obviously an opportunity to get some work done against Cal, Stanford, and then Oregon.
Well, tough teams, but games that we can win if we play right. We have to play smart, intelligent, hard, and shoot a good percentage.
All right. That's the word from the coach. We'll be back here next week to talk about it in the next edition of the Jimmy Anderson Show. Good day.